Happy New Year, everyone. I hope you've had a good holiday and the exam preparation didn't get in the way of having a wonderful time with loved ones. I thought to make this quick video because I've been getting tons of messages and emails from candidates sitting their exams in the coming weeks with regards to time management in the SJT part of the exam. Hopefully this video will be beneficial to many people, even those who didn't send me emails. That's why I decided to shoot it, because I didn't just want to reply emails individually and then leave other people in the dark. These tips were very useful to me, and I think they'll be useful to many of you as well. All right, so let's just get straight into it. The SJTs can be quite tasking, especially with regards to time management. This is because the questions are not just straightforward like the clinical questions where you've got the data you need, your clincher words, the diagnosis at your fingertips, you've got your mnemonics and everything. With the SJT, you really need to understand the scenario, understand the context, recognize the risks that are being assessed, and select the most appropriate options. With this in mind, it's important to remember that you should target answering each question in 90 seconds to 120 seconds. So as much as possible, try not to use more than 2 minutes per question. If you do this, you're putting yourself at risk of not covering all the questions before your time elapses. This means that during your mocks, you try to work within a shorter period of time than you're expected to use on exam day. So for example, try to aim to answer about 10 questions in 15 minutes. This is probably like akin to answering a question in 90 seconds, and this will give you a very good footing, a solid footing on exam day, so that you're able to manage your time better. Right, so aim for 10 questions in 15 minutes, make use of your timer. And for the entire mock, if you're doing a timed mock, full-scale mock, aim to use 15 to 20 minutes less than the expected time that you use on exam days. For example, if you're supposed to use 90 minutes to answer 50 questions, for example, aim to use 70 to 75 minutes to answer that same number of questions. This will help you with your pacing, right? So number one tip is practice timed mocks with shorter times to help with your pacing. Secondly, try not to overanalyze the question. Why is this important? The more time you spend going through or analyzing the question, the less time you have to answer the remaining. It's pretty straightforward. So I know we fall into the trap of overthinking, especially with the SJTs, because sometimes it's not as straightforward as we expect it to be. Try not to imagine scenarios that are outside and contexts that are outside the context that's given in the scenario before you. This will only get into your time unnecessarily, and you might still end up choosing the wrong options. So just work with what you've been given, make mental reference to the good medical practice guidelines, go through the options, and then select your answer quickly. Usually your first instinct is the correct one, so don't overthink, don't overanalyze. Third tip I'm going to mention is quite close to what I've just talked about. Try to avoid rereading the question multiple times. I know that temptation is there because you want to be sure that you're not missing anything, you're not missing the context, you're not missing some very key details. So you want to go over it over and over again. But another common reason why people tend to reread the questions is just the fact that they're anxious, they're not able to focus and assimilate what they're reading. Try to have a calm mind, and if you find that you're rereading a question, please just move on to the next one, flag it and move on to the next one. The key thing is, as much as possible, as much as it is avoidable, try to avoid rereading a question. Read it just once, but read it carefully. Read it carefully and quickly. Carefully and quickly is very, very important. Read it carefully but quickly, so that you don't have to go over it multiple times and end up wasting your time. The scenarios are usually pretty straightforward. Trust your instincts, trust your ability to understand on first read, except it's completely unavoidable. One thing that I did that really helped me in my time management, especially in the ranking section, once you've gone through a scenario, you go through the options, select your most appropriate option and the least appropriate options. Once you've gotten that first and the fifth options sorted out, the middle options or the middle responses can then be figured out in the next couple of seconds that you've got left. Remember, it's a race against time. So select your most appropriate and your least appropriate, and then work out the positions that the middle responses ought to be in as quickly as possible. This same principle can be applied to the select the 3 most appropriate options section of the SJT. So once you've gone through your scenarios, gone through your options, try and figure out the least likely options, the ones that are obviously incorrect. Strike them out and then work with what you've got left. Select the 3 most appropriate from those. Prior to the exam day, the good medical practice guidelines should be gone over a couple of times, just so that the principles are at your fingertips, because these are the tools that you will use to answer the questions both accurately and quickly. So it has to be at your fingertips so that you don't have to think too much, you don't get confused, you're able to recognize the domain that's being assessed, you're able to recognize the risks that are involved in a given scenario, whether it's patient safety, confidentiality, which of these risks are of greater priority in that scenario. All of these will be figured out when you've got your good medical practice guidelines at your fingertips, and they will be figured out more quickly compared to someone who hasn't gone through these guidelines and just figuring things out by head knowledge and by past experience. Another very important tip is make use of your flag feature. This is because if you start your exams on a wrong note, it can negatively impact your confidence. And once your confidence is impacted, you become more anxious, more nervous. You don't have a calm mind to be able to address the subsequent questions quickly and accurately. So if you find out that you're spending too long on a particular question, flag it, move on to the next one. Get questions that are relatively easier, that you can figure out more easily. Once your confidence is boosted by these questions, you have a calmer mind, you're less anxious, you're able to better approach the questions that you come across in the next couple of minutes, and even the questions that you flagged in the past. And once you make it a flag feature, don't forget them. So once you're done with that section of the exam and you still got some time left, review those questions that you flagged. There's something that the mind does where, because you've been exposed to those questions in the past, in the couple of minutes prior to now, you've been able to subconsciously, marinate the questions, even without you actively doing that. And it gives you a fresh perspective to the question. You're able to see it through a different lens, a better lens most of the time. And you figure out that it was not even as difficult as you thought it was. All right, so I hope these tips have been helpful. I hope they'll be helpful for you. And if you don't watch my other videos, you can just go through my channel and then find some really helpful resources I think that will be beneficial for you as you prepare for this exam. So I wish you success, and I can't wait to hear all the great testimonies in a couple of months about how well you've done in your exam. Thank you for watching till this point. See you in my next video. Bye.